There's a specific facial expression that reveals the exact moment someone gets the ick. Most people think it just looks like losing interest. It doesn't, not at first. It looks like disgust, a real, involuntary flash across the face. Watch someone's nose and upper lip the moment attraction suddenly disappears, and you'll see it happen in real time. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is the ick? It's that sudden, often irrational moment when attraction just disappears, out of nowhere. 1 second everything feels fine, the next, something small breaks the entire feeling. It could be the way someone laughs, the way they order food, almost anything. The trigger is usually tiny, which is exactly what makes it feel so confusing. But here's what most people get wrong about it. The ick isn't the same thing as boredom or gradual disinterest. Boredom fades slowly, quietly, over time. The ick happens instantly, and it has a very specific emotional signature underneath it, disgust. Psychologists have studied disgust for decades, and it turns out to be a universal human emotion. It has its own distinct facial expression, recognized across nearly every culture on Earth. A slight wrinkle at the top of the nose. A small, quick raise of the upper lip. Sometimes a subtle pulling back of the head, almost like flinching from a bad smell. This entire expression lasts less than a second, and it's almost impossible to consciously fake. When someone experiences the ick, this micro-expression is often what's actually happening on their face. Not a slow fade of interest, but a quick, involuntary flash of aversion. This is why the ick feels so sudden and so strong compared to normal disinterest. It's not running on the same emotional system at all. Disinterest is calm, low energy, a gradual withdrawal. Disgust is fast, sharp, and immediate, even if it's over in an instant. Same disgust signature shows up in plenty of non-romantic contexts too: bad smells, spoiled food, unpleasant sights. Attraction-related disgust just borrows the exact same ancient wiring, repurposed for social judgment. That's part of why it feels so visceral, so much stronger than ordinary disinterest ever does. Your body isn't treating this like mild boredom, it's treating it like a threat to avoid. Which explains why the reaction feels so disproportionate to how small the trigger usually is. The wiring is old, the context is just new. Once you know to look for this specific expression, it becomes much easier to identify. The tricky part is timing. This expression is genuinely brief. Blink at the wrong moment, and you'll miss it entirely. But once you catch it once, you start recognizing it much faster the next time. That recognition is really what this entire video is about. Picture this: a first date going really well, genuinely well. Good conversation, easy laughter, real chemistry building with every passing minute. Then, your date reaches for their drink and does something small. Maybe they chew with their mouth open, just once. Maybe they say something slightly off, a joke that lands strangely, a weird laugh. In that exact instant, watch their face, or rather, watch yours. There it is, a tiny wrinkle at the nose, gone almost before it registers. That flash is the ick, captured in real time. Here's what's fascinating: the feeling often outlasts the expression by a lot. The facial reaction lasts under a second. But the emotional aftertaste, the sudden coolness towards someone, can linger for the rest of the night. This mismatch confuses a lot of people. The trigger felt so small, but the feeling that followed felt disproportionately large. That's actually consistent with how disgust works as an emotion. Disgust evolved as a fast, protective response, meant to make us pull away quickly and remember why. It's not designed to be proportional, it's designed to be memorable. Which is exactly why one small, strange moment can override an entire evening of genuine connection. Friends watching from another table often notice the shift before either person on the date does. Outside observers tend to catch these fast expressions more easily, simply because they're not distracted by their own reaction. This is actually a useful trick. If you're ever unsure about your own read on a moment, ask a friend who was watching. They may have caught something you missed entirely. Second perspective often catches what a racing mind, mid-conversation, tends to miss. Now here's an interesting twist. This doesn't just happen to you watching someone else. It can happen to someone else watching you. If you've ever wondered why a date suddenly went cold after a specific moment, this might be why. Something small triggered that same fast, involuntary reaction in them. And once triggered, it's remarkably hard to consciously override, on either side. Because if disgust can be triggered this fast, an important question follows. Can it also fade just as fast, or is it permanent once it happens? Here's the part of the ick almost nobody talks about, whether it actually fades. Research on disgust suggests something surprising. The emotion itself is short-lived. The facial expression lasts less than a second, and the physiological spike calms down fairly quickly too. What actually lingers isn't the emotion itself, it's the memory and the meaning we attach to it. Once we label something the ick, we tend to keep scanning for more evidence to confirm it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, and it applies here just as much as anywhere else. One small trigger creates a lens, and everything afterward gets viewed through that same lens. This means the ick often isn't actually about the size of the original moment at all. It's about what happens in your mind immediately afterward. Do you dismiss it as one weird moment, or do you start building a case against them? That choice happens almost entirely outside of body language. It happens in interpretation. Which means, in theory, the ick can be temporary. There's actually a simple mental habit that helps here, labeling the moment specifically, instead of generally. Instead of thinking, I got the ick, try thinking, that one specific thing bothered me. That small shift in language keeps the reaction contained to the actual moment, rather than letting it spread into a broader, less accurate judgment about the entire person. Language shapes perception more than most people realize, even in something as fast as this. If the triggering moment is treated as an isolated incident, the feeling often does fade with time. If it's treated as evidence of something bigger, it tends to calcify into permanent disinterest instead. This is genuinely useful information, both for reading others and understanding your own reactions. The next time you notice that flash of disgust on your date's face, or your own, pause before deciding what it means. One fast, involuntary expression is not automatically a verdict. It's simply a signal, worth noticing, not necessarily worth acting on immediately. This is different from a repeated pattern of the same reaction, which does mean something more solid. One flash once is just information. The same flash, triggered repeatedly by the same behavior, is closer to a genuine, consistent signal. That distinction matters more than most people realize in the moment. Now a quick caveat before you start reading disgust into every small mistake. Everyone occasionally does something slightly awkward. That's just part of being human. A single ick moment doesn't automatically define an entire person or an entire relationship. Context matters. Was this a genuinely uncomfortable pattern or a one-time, forgettable slip? Stress, tiredness, or a bad day can also lower your tolerance for small quirks temporarily. What feels like a major ick on an exhausting day might barely register on a relaxed one. Timing and mood deserve some consideration too, before drawing permanent conclusions. Give both yourself and the people you're dating room for small, human moments. So how do you actually use this in real life? When you notice that fast facial flash, in yourself or someone else, pause before reacting. Ask whether it's an isolated moment or part of a bigger pattern you've already noticed. If it's isolated, let it pass. Most first impressions can survive one small stumble. If it's part of a repeated pattern, that's worth paying real attention to. Give yourself a little grace too. Everyone experiences this occasionally. It's a normal human reaction. It doesn't make you shallow, it makes you human. Let's quickly recap what we covered today. The ick is a fast, involuntary disgust reaction, not the same thing as slow, gradual disinterest. It shows up as a quick facial flash, a nose wrinkle, a raised upper lip, gone in an instant. The feeling often outlasts the expression, but that doesn't mean the reaction itself was accurate or fair. Confirmation bias tends to keep the feeling alive more than the original moment ever did. One flash is just information, a repeated pattern is a much stronger signal. None of this means ignoring genuine red flags, those are still worth taking seriously. It simply means separating a fast, emotional flash from a slower, more reliable pattern. Understanding this helps you read both other people and your own sudden reactions more clearly. Ick feels irrational in the moment, but underneath it, there's a very real, very human mechanism. Now you know exactly what to look for and how much weight to actually give it. If this helped you understand a confusing feeling a little more clearly, hit subscribe for more videos like this one. We break down psychology, body language, and human behavior every single week. The next time you feel that sudden, strange shift towards someone, pause for a second before deciding what it means. See you in the next one.